Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I want to talk to you about why hypnosis is so good for managing weight. Now, I could talk for ages about the technical aspects and the theory and the mechanics of it all, but I'm not, because I think what people are really interested in is learning about how, what does it do? What's the outcome? What's the effect? Why do people come and see you for weight? And what kind of issues do you deal with when people present with weight? And how does that get managed using hypnosis? So today what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this over a series of different videos, is to explain, or try to explain, how we actually work with people when they present to us with weight, when they want to use hypnosis to do that. There's a whole bunch of reasons why people choose hypnosis, and I'll talk about that in another video. But one of the reasons is that their condition is quite complex, and they've usually tried a lot of other things before they get to a stage where they're ready to try hypnosis. But it's a shame, because it is one of the most powerful, in my opinion, ways and methods of managing weight, and the easiest and most lovely, actually. It's a beautiful modality to use because you're relaxed the whole way through it. So it's awesome. Whereas in other modalities, you get quite challenged. It can be quite threatening to feel like you've got to give something up or stop doing something in order to lose the weight. This makes it so fun and easy. So I'm going to share today a case study of someone who I've worked with in the past. Her name is Linda, and I won't be bringing her in. She's not on the screen, but I'm going to be just sharing my screen through this video, just to remind me of the kind of things that I did with Linda. And it will give you an idea of how someone with pretty complex issues was able to manage her weight only in a matter of a few sessions. It wasn't long at all. She did superbly well, and it was marvelous what happened with Linda. So I'm going to just share something with you, put it on the big screen. Just bear with me a second. Just so I can see it. So Linda presented to me with, she was in a pretty bad state. She had a condition called polycystic ovary syndrome, which is a hormonal disorder causing enlarged ovaries and small cysts on the outer edges. People are born with that typically, and it affects, it's quite common, it affects a lot of people. But one of the major problems with that condition is that they develop, they get overweight and obese with quite easily, really, with when they take on board too much sugar. So they have to be very careful about their diet and how they manage their diet well. Unfortunately, and they also get a lot of sugar cravings. And for Linda, she was a teacher. She was teaching primary school children. And what she would do to comfort herself and to manage her cravings every day would take in a huge bag of the Haribo gummy bears. Unfortunately, most of the kids didn't eat them, didn't ever get a chance to eat them, because she ate most of the lion's share of the bag. So every day she's filling herself with all this sugar. Not only that, she wasn't a person who was she didn't have any friends outside of school. She didn't have any social life. She didn't have a partner. But what she did have was a love of cooking. So every night she would go home and she wouldn't feel pretty great about herself, because she was clinically obese. She was severely at risk of diabetes and lots of other conditions that you do when you're that big. She wasn't doing any exercise, and she was cooking. She loved to cook. She loved to bake things. But the problem was, she would bake, and she would bake a whole cake, and that whole cake would be eaten within the evening. She would eat it herself. She wouldn't share it the next day with the school or other kids. She would eat it. And that's how uncomfortable and unhappy she was in herself. But also it satisfied her need to have the sugar. But unfortunately, she did nothing with it, and she was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more unhappy by the day. So she realised something needed to be done about this situation, and things were totally out of control with her behaviour. And she came to see me. She was brave enough to pluck up the courage to come and see someone like me, which was awesome. She had very low self-esteem and severe body consciousness. So she couldn't even look in the mirror at her own body. She refused to do that. And that was fine, not a problem, because that to me is a good guide. If that's a baseline, if that's where people are at when they first start in my practice, that's great, because I know we can make huge changes in a very short space of time, and I've got something to measure it against. So we needed to work on boosting her confidence, making her feel good about herself. She wouldn't do any exercise because the only exercise she felt she could do with the weight she'd got was swimming, and she refused to wear a bathing costume and show a body in public. So that wasn't even an option. So we had to work up her confidence and her self-esteem pretty fast in order to get her to a stage where she was willing to do and try some things differently. She also wanted to start a family. She was getting on in age a little bit. I think she was in her 30s, and she didn't have a partner. And I'd not had a partner for a long time. But how would she ever get a partner? Because she didn't have a social life and she refused to go out in public. Never mind get intimate with someone like that. So she had a goal, she had a passion, she had a need, and that's a great motivator in our world, in the hypnosis world. We can use those as drivers for change. But unfortunately, with people with this condition as well, there is a very low chance of fertility. So again, she was pushing a few boundaries in terms of where she needed to be and how she was going to get there, which was great in terms of her ambitions. But we had to make small changes quite rapidly. She was very optimistic in her goals. She was excited about losing weight and controlling her sugar cravings and sugar intake. She was at the right stage of change where she needed to do something about that. It wasn't a desire anymore. It was a need. It had to be done. And she was confident that she could do something differently about this situation. So like I said, very quickly, we have about an hour in session, which equates to about 50 minutes because we have pre-chat and we have to wrap up before we leave. So we only had about 50 minutes per session, but each session was packed full of things which would encourage her to go deep within and deal with things on a different level to what she's dealt with before. It's very easy when you're overweight to use quite, I suppose, psychodynamic technical terms, is to say, we're quite defensive, we're quite overly critical and quite negative about change in ourselves. And when we get into patterns of behaviour, we like to keep those patterns of behaviour. We don't like to move beyond it. We're creatures of habit as humans, but when it comes to things like cigarettes and alcohol and food, which gives us lots of reward, it's very easy for us to get into those patterns of behaviour which are not really that healthy or good for us, and find difficult to change on a conscious level. Luckily with hypnosis, we're doing something different because we're working on a different level of consciousness when we're tackling these issues. So we not only built her confidence and helped to boost her self-esteem and her self-image and how she thought about herself, her self-concept, we were able to help her to aspire to have different interests and hobbies and things that she could do beyond eating, beyond baking and eating, things that she could do which would encourage her to get out more and to meet people, because if she doesn't meet people, she's not going to be able to find a partner, which is what she wanted to do, to have a family. She also wanted to increase ability to go walking and swimming. So we worked on those things in small ways, just in her imagination. So the great thing here is that the brain, when it's in this state, doesn't know the difference between whether it's real or imagined. So if you can imagine doing something inside your head, the fact is you've pretty much done it. Your brain thinks you can already do it. So then when she goes out into the real world, it is so much easier to just get out there and not have those hang-ups about doing it. So she didn't go swimming straight away. That took a little bit of time. But what she did do was she started encouraging herself to increase movement in a day. So instead of taking the lift, she would take the stairs. Instead of driving all the way to school with her car, she would park a little bit away and enjoy the walk into school. So she would do things. She would go out at lunchtime, and instead of sitting at her desk where all the Haribos were, she would actually get out there and do a walk at lunchtime, get away from her desk and go and find a healthy place to eat a healthy snack. So she had cravings for a little while. Obviously, your brain gets addicted to sugar, and that's why it's so bad. But we do need sugar, some sugar, for the body. But she was able to manage those cravings really well by using some techniques that we did in session, where she was able to relax, switch off, let go, and distract her mind away from the negative. The pull towards those sugary sweet things which she knew she couldn't and shouldn't have. So we did a lot of work. She came a long way. She went and joined a choir, of all things. She loved to sing. I'd done from very, very young. And she loved to go to church. And part of that was that she joined the choir and she became part of a social life again. She found friends, and who knows? I didn't know her long enough to know whether she found a partner, but she was a long way through her journey by the time we left things. So yeah, that's just an idea of a case study that I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to share lots more because along the way, I think it helps to put it into context when someone is dealing with something, and it kind of brings it home. It brings it to life when you see real case studies like Linda's, where she went from being so unhappy to being so comfortable within her own skin and making huge changes because of it. So I'll leave it there for today. If you've got any questions, you can always post them below, or you can contact me. And if you're interested in getting private sessions, you can contact me, and I'll give you the link. And I will be posting it in the page as well over the next few weeks and months. So all the best. Have a great day. Take care. Bye for now.